Well, tonight we heard the head of CSIS talk about how some Canadian politicians are under the influence of foreign governments. It's an explosive accusation. Richard Fadden first made similar remarks in a recent speech, which we had exclusive access to. We wanted to learn more, so I sat down with Fadden at CSIS headquarters and started by reminding him of that speech.
There's several municipal politicians in British Columbia, and in at least 2 provinces there are ministers of the Crown whom we think are under at least the general influence of a foreign government. They have no idea. It's just a long-standing relationship. You develop friendship. It's what I do, in reverse, and they're very good at it.
I think most Canadians would be stunned to hear that. What exactly are you suggesting there?
I'm suggesting that at least one, possibly a couple of countries, take a very, very long-range view of their efforts to influence Canada. The days when you had somebody hiding, in the Chateau Laurier behind a palm tree trying to steal a secret, I think are by and large long gone. You either do it through cyber or you do it this way, which is you find somebody, usually in your diaspora, somebody who has a connection back to the homeland, and you start developing a relationship. In some cases, this is done in universities through social clubs and whatnot that are financed by embassies. And through time, you invite somebody back to the homeland, you pay their trips, and all of a sudden you discover that when an event is occurring that is of particular interest to country X, you call up and you ask the person to take a particular view.
Well, I understand the problem, but the director of CSIS suggesting that there are politicians in this country, and now public servants as well, you're suggesting, without naming them, will raise a few eyebrows. In fact, if I was a provincial cabinet minister, I'd say, hey, who are you talking about? Because you're swiping us all with this.
I think that's fair, and we just don't keep the information to ourselves. In the case of a couple of cabinet ministers, we're in the process of discussing with the centre how we're going to inform those provinces.
The centre being?
The Privy Council Office, the Prime Minister's Department. Try and get a sense of how we would best let them know that there may be a problem. We'll do the same with the public servants. I'm making this comment because I think it's a real danger that people are be totally oblivious to this kind of issue.
When you say, though, let's take the case of a provincial cabinet minister, that you felt that that person has become too close, one assumes that you must have been monitoring this person fairly closely.
Well, I think that's a fair statement. I mean, under the law, we can monitor anyone. In the case of these individuals, it's developed over the years. They haven't really hidden their association, but what surprised us is that it's been so extensive over the years. And we're now seeing, in a couple of cases, indications that they are, in fact, shifting their public policies as a reflection of that involvement with that particular country.
Now, you never named any countries here, but you seem to be, it sounds like China.
Well, I'm not going to name any countries, but as I think I told Brian Stewart, there were a few stories in the media a couple of months ago, and I wouldn't say that those stories were entirely incorrect. And the country that you've mentioned, I believe, was mentioned in those stories.
Where does this all lead? What should Canadians make of this? I mean, this week we're going to be having the leaders of at least 20 different nations, including China, India, and others, some of whom may be, thought of on this list. They're coming here, being welcomed into our country. Last night you talked about how we wouldn't spy on our allies. You're suggesting our allies spy on us.
I think there are a number of countries around the world that have a very sophisticated view of the world and of their place in it. And they see no inconsistency between having fairly good relations on the diplomatic level, relatively limited relationships on the defense level, and quite aggressive intelligence relationships against us. A goodly number of countries, I think, use every tool at their disposal, from diplomacy to spying. My message would simply be that we need to be aware of this possibility.
Well, let's tie the knot on this by going back to those municipal politicians and provincial cabinet ministers. Is there any sense that there's been any of this at the federal level?
Certainly not since I've been here, and I've asked my colleagues, and we haven't had any evidence of this, certainly for the last 5 years. I haven't gone back any further than that.
Director, on that note, we're going to thank you for what's been 2 nights of a real microscope on your operation, and we thank you for letting us do it.
My pleasure. Thanks again.
Well, our full interview with CSIS Director Richard Fadden is now on our website. Just go to cbc.ca/thenational. You'll also find Brian Stewart's exclusive look inside CSIS. And check out our blog called Working in Shadows. You'll get a sense of the restrictions the spy agency placed on our team while shooting this story.